Pelikan. Let's talk about them. I knew very little about this set. Every now and then I would see somebody posting pictures colored with these pencils, but they never really seemed to have too much to say about them. And I knew the Pelikan brand, and probably a few of you do as well. They do like art supplies and whatnot, but I've never messed around with their color pencils. So honestly, I was pretty excited to get my hands on these and play around with them. The first thing I noticed when I opened this up was this packaging. The packaging is phenomenal. It has a nice, thick, what I like to refer to as like an Apple product box, where it's just has a nice glaze on it. It feels good, it feels hefty, it feels very compact. And the front is the magnetic closing, which is, again, a nice big plus when messing around with color pencils, the way you store them. I don't know, it's to me, it's all part of the product. It all shows that the company who puts these out, the Pelikan, cares about their pencils, and the box just shows it. If we look at the pencils themselves, the very first thing I noticed was the blue. It's unusual. I think this might be the first set I have that's just solid blue like this. Usually if they're going to be solid, it's usually the wood grain color, or each pencil will, the barrel matches the color. So this was a little different, and frankly, I kind of liked it. If we look at one of the pencils themselves, you have their logo in silver. You have the number way up top, and that is all that's on it. So there is nothing else, including the color, is not located on this. But big plus, the number is on the very back of the pencil, so it will be the absolute last thing to go. And another big plus is these pencils are in gradient order, but they are also in numerical order. And I absolutely love when a company does this, because it makes my job of family swatching so much easier when organizing them and when putting them back in the tray. So this is great. We look at the rest of the pencils. You can see the way they have them ordered is pretty nice, but what I noticed is like the pastel section, because you got your earth tones, it hits pastels, and if you look at this last tray, there's more pastels and it goes right into the metallics. Very pretty pencils. Something that I do notice on this set, in fact, let me pull it out. You can see here, this sheet right here, their colors are pretty light. I'm not going to go as far as to say this is, entirely a pastel set, but as far as their pastels go, they definitely have more lights than darks. If you look at certain colors that are oil sets, the one that pops in my head right off the get-go is Finding the Lost Girl. And I know there's a couple others as well. The color palette is very deep, very bold, and they don't have a lot of the lights. I feel like Pelikan is a little bit of the opposite. They have some beautiful, very vivid colors, but they're all on the lighter side. There's not very many of those deep, rich, dark colors. Like they have like the navy blue and the olive green, but all in all, there's not that many rich, deep colors. So this feels kind of like it falls in the pastel category. There was a chunk of metallics, which fortunately it wasn't a lot of metallic to it, which is great. I mean, if you're, no one's going to buy these for a metallic set, so I'm just as happy to know that the metallics aren't very much on that glitter side, so I can kind of mix those in with the other colors. As far as using these go, let's talk about their performance. The first time I used these, other than swatching, I used a brown tone paper, which does not have a lot of tooth to it. I just thought these pencils would do well because of how light they were, and they did have that pastel look to them. So I thought that the brown would probably work really well with them, and they did. The colors just felt so much more vivid and light. They just worked hand in hand with a tone paper, and I had a lot of fun with them. But then I went back and I ended up playing around with them on a paper with more texture, and I ended up using some color penciled paper, and that that was just as fun, because it let me really play around, on top of white, it let me really play around with these lighter colors. No matter what paper I was using, I found that these pencils did not crumble, and they maintained their point pretty well. And something too, when you actually start getting into the pencil, you realize, how much you're sharpening them and how centered the leads are. And though these pencils are all dipped, so you can't exactly see how centered the leads are, for the most part, this comes across as a pretty quality pencil. Zero residue. It didn't streak when my hand would go over it. So again, these just kind of came out as a surprise to me. I will definitely use these pencils again, but when I use them again, there's a good chance that I'm going to mix these with another set, most likely an oil set, but I'm going to mix them with something with some more darks. Now, they did have a fantastic range of colors. They had some nice purples and some pinks and yellows. They offered a lot of colors. I just wanted some deeper colors, something that really accented the lightness to these. But as far as their performance goes, these did blend really well and they layered really well. They were fun. They were an absolute joy to use. I will 100% go back and reuse these, and I will continue to recommend these just because I think these are a fun set to have in your color pencil collection. And at their price point, they're going to give you a little more. So again, all in all, if you are curious about Pelikan color pencils, I could recommend you go grab a set. I think these will blend in really well with your collection.
Sugar Solito.